This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
We are back with Julie A. Schejbal. That's right, our estate attorney at the law offices of Julie A. Schejbal, based out of Dunkirk, Maryland. She joins us again today. We're going to talk more about her full service planning law firm, estate planning law firm, that is, and really, all the work she does to help people with wills, trust, tax, estate tax planning, and so much more. First and foremost, welcome back today. How are you doing?
I am terrific, Jill. How are you today?
Great. You're watching the tennis. What's happening with the background? Tell us about your love of tennis again.
So I do love tennis, and the background is Wimbledon, so that's coming up, I guess, the end of June. So we're getting all excited for that. French Open going on. I will say it's a little harder to watch the European tour because they're playing now,
Yeah.
and or early in the morning, and kind of we're at work. But I do try to watch it when I can.
Well, we're excited to have you back here today. And I know we're going to dive into, more with your estate planning and all that you offer. But first, just give us a little introduction as to who you are, and then we'll jump right in.
So I'm Julie. I'm an estate planning attorney. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I've first started working with the IRS in the estate tax division. So I like to joke that I stole money from rich widows and orphans back in the day, and now I help them keep it. So I've had a lot of experience. And my clients really range from people who are of moderate means to people who are more wealthy. So I run the whole gamut of estate.
Fantastic. Got it. And the work you do is in what state?
So I'm admitted to practice law in Maryland. So my practice is primarily focused in Maryland.
All right. For those out there, let's break it down. I can't believe this is our fifth time together here on the show.
Exactly.
Wow, it goes so fast. What
It does.
exactly makes up estate planning? Let's go over some of the basics here, please.
So when you're in estate plan, you're really looking at one of the things is transferring your wealth to the next generation or whoever that is, whether it's your children, grandchildren, maybe you don't have children as charities or brothers or sisters. And it's all about both handling that when you die. It also includes planning for during your lifetime for what happens if you lose your capacity. You get dementia or Alzheimer's, you have a stroke, something makes you incapable of handling your affairs, both financially and medically. So it takes into account all of that, all of those issues as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And, in specifically when you talking about estates, we're talking about homes, condos, investments. Just break down exactly,
So
what type of
it's really
estates we're talking about.
perfect. I mean, you're talking really about all your assets. So things that you would maybe think about naturally because they're tangible. You can touch them. Your house,
Mm-hmm.
your condo, uh, cash in the bank, your stocks or bonds or mutual funds that you have, not, your investment assets, art, you know, whatever is out there that people think about naturally because they're, the assets we see, particularly, our home or an investment account. We get a statement, we see that. But it also can include other assets which people don't really gravitate or think about as much. And those are what I call like the stealth wealth assets. And those are like things like life insurance or your 401k or retirement money, because if you're not of age, you can't pull that money out without out of your 401k without a penalty. So you're kind of, I think people tend to treat that as not part of their estate because it's not something that they are, physically able to grab every day. And life insurance really is legitimately just a piece of paper till you die. The problem is when you die, whatever your life insurance is becomes part of your estate, and that augments your wealth. And this can be an issue when you're younger, right? Because a lot of younger people are carrying life insurance. It's cheap. They're young, they're healthy, maybe they're getting it through their employer, but they're not thinking about it. And then if they happen to die, really young, oh my God,
Yeah.
here's 500,000 or 100,000 or $1 million that's in their estate that they didn't even think about having when they were planning.
Got it. All right. Thank you for that. Let's also break it down and move on over to discuss a little bit further about, what makes a good estate plan. So again, what makes up the estate? And again, as we just kind of discussed, what really indicates a good estate plan?
So I think a couple things is, I mean, some of that is like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder, I guess, but
Yeah.
it's making it, reducing your tax base or taxes if you have a tax issue, making sure that your money is going where you want it to go in a manner that you want it to be transferred. So thinking about all the variables, what your kids are like, what your family's like, what your intent is. Maybe you do want to give money to charity. So it's following through on all that. But it's also, I think, not, finding that sweet spot between an over plan and an under plan. So kind of what I mean is that you should leave with, some people come into the office and they have these grandiose plans, and that's perfectly fine. But when you really look at where they are in life, that really isn't what they need, where they need to be, or maybe it's, overly complicated, or what I'm looking at it too is I'm looking at it and saying, oh, well, I get what you want to do,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we can put this in a way that when you die, somebody's going to actually be able to make sense of it. Because if the people sitting around this table aren't there, you may be leaving gaps in comprehension. And then sort of the underplanned part is, if people don't really, recognize what they need to do for their children, or maybe their children have issues and they kind of don't worry about it, or they're a
Yeah.
business owner and they're not thinking about the trajectory of the business 10 or 15 years down the road. So you're kind of looking at trying to make everything fit neatly. I mean, I've seen plans that, I've read for people and done by other people, I like to
Yeah.
say. And I'm like thinking, why did you get this? You don't need all of this. And it's, it's classically about that thick. And I'm like, kind of, well, we can streamline it. I mean, my clients complain my stuff is too complex. And sometimes
Uh-huh.
I'm like, really? Okay,
You're
we'll go
like,
here. Yeah,
uh-huh.
exactly.
All right, all right. Well, also, we're here talking about estate planning, and now we're going to move on over. Unless there's something else you want to add about estate planning before we go
I
down to the
think that's
will.
good.
All
Yeah,
right, good.
we can
Well,
go.
people always say, "Oh, do I need an attorney to prepare my will?"
So, as an attorney, my answer is, of course you do, right?
Yes.
And
Tell
I
us why.
recognize that that sounds disingenuous. I get it. But I think the thing is that, when you're going through, like, you can go to, probably can download it now off the internet or go buy will writing programs from somebody. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this. But, if you ever watch, like, if you're watching football and Matt Stafford, the quarterback of the Rams, he and his wife were plugging LegalZoom. And I'm like, really,
Uh-huh.
dude? You make millions and millions of dollars a year. I suggest that you not do this, because really, when you do that, it's only as good as the input that you put in. So if you don't answer the questions correctly, it's you could end up with something you don't need, right? You or you don't need either because it's too complicated or it wasn't complicated enough. So I think it's not a good recipe for it's a good recipe for disaster is what I would say.
Sure is. Sounds like it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So what should we be doing? Because people's like, well, how does it work? I don't know an attorney. How do I find an attorney? How do I know who's reputable? Those are even hesitations before getting in the door. Forget the will. Who do you trust to do these types of things? Is there a
So
way to check? Yeah.
I think the first thing is, if you have word of mouth referral, I think that's the best. You talk to your neighbor, your sister, your brother, I don't know, somebody you trust, and they say, hey, I went here and I had a great experience, because, they had the experience as boots on the ground. So, like anything, you might, you get a review for a restaurant, right? Or somebody cut your hair, or maybe your doctor. So it's the same kind of idea. And then the other thing is, but there's lots of resources available. You can go on the internet and find people. And I think that when you're looking for an attorney, just like if you're looking for anybody else, you want to look for somebody who
Yeah.
specializes, concentrates in the areas that you are looking for. So if you look at somebody who does um, a lot of criminal law,
Yep.
they probably aren't the best person to draft your will.
Got it. Got it.
On the
So,
same token, if you're looking for criminal lawyer, coming to me is not the best choice either. So you're kind of looking at, who do you want to go to, and, looking at kind of narrowing it down that way.
Got it. All right. Thank you for that. And let's break down then a little further, about how you're preparing for this initial meeting. And again, in every state, is it different though? Is there like a certain bar association we could search? Just curious.
So I believe, yes, the bar would have lists of client of people. I think you can look at again the internet, and then but the bar will probably say, well, we can't recommend lawyers, right?
Yeah.
So because they can't, but you can look at maybe who practices in your area. So um, I've had to refer sometimes people to Florida. Florida is obviously a very big state, or California, wherever. And sometimes even I'm flying blind. I look for
Yeah.
people and like, well, they look really good, but they'll say, well, yeah, Julie, I'm like in Miami and or wherever county, and you need somebody in a county that's, I don't practice in because it's 75 miles away or something.
No,
So
no.
sometimes you're getting, then I get a referral from him or her. But um, so I think, does that answer the question? Because I
It
kind of got wrapped
does.
up.
No, it's good. It's good. Absolutely. So, how do we prepare for the initial meeting? What are some of the things that you asked your clients to bring in and prepare?
So when I'm having a meeting with a client, I request that I have an information sheet that I ask them to prepare. And it's very
Okay.
short. I tell them, look, if it takes you 10 minutes, you probably thought about it 9 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Um,
There you
but
go.
it, takes care of some of their preliminary information, names of kids, phone numbers, uh, you know, all of that stuff. Also, if they have an existing will, I would tell them to pull it out. They might say, well, it's, 15 years old, Julie, or whatever. And I just say, look at it, bring it with you if you want, or just make some notes, because maybe there's some things in there that they are happy with, or maybe there are things in there that they're shocked with. So it kind of, reinforces their memory there. And then I also ask them, and I think this is more important, is to bring a financial net worth statement. So
Yeah.
then I'm able to look at this and say, okay, well, here's where you are, Jill. And this is you know, maybe what you want is not complex enough or too complex or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, thinking of how that's going to fit in. Because again, it goes to that overplan or underplan kind of theme. And then so that gives me some ability to sort of help them navigate through this whole swamp.
Got it, which is a lot, I'm sure. Hoo, hoo,
Yeah.
hoo. I know it's common, place to you in a sense, is what you do for a living, but it could be intimidating to people out there, first time being there and in this type of setting and talking about these things. So, um, you know, older, you mentioned if someone's older, do people ever bring their children with them to maybe help out, to understand, to get a
Yeah.
second
So
pair
it's
of ears yeah,
exactly, it's common. Like I will, it's not that uncommon because
okay,
particularly
yeah,
as people get older, maybe they're doing this for the first time or the first time in a very long time, and they're 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 feeling intimidated, or they're knowing, okay, there's going to be a lot of concepts that I'm not aware of. I want to bring one or more of my children with me. Maybe they can help me. It's another set of ears. Also, sometimes it's maybe they're not hearing as well. So then again, there's somebody else there that can digest the information and, also focus in on it and help bridge some of those, not issues, but concerns that arise. So it isn't that uncommon for people to come in with, one or more of their children.
got it. I would probably do the same. I would, yeah, definitely. All right. What about any concerns though about bringing the child to the meeting? Could it get like feisty because someone wants to leave something to one child, or there's got to be good
It
and bad to
can.
this, right?
So exactly. I mean, the most important, I think, concern is that if there's more than one person in the meeting besides me being a client, that it can have issues for confidentiality because you have somebody there. So
Yeah.
confidentiality from the attorney-client privilege is a little bit compromised. But for the most part, we're sitting here and talking about things that maybe the kids aren't aware of, but it makes common sense, right? You have three children, you might say, well, I'm going to divide it equally between Julie, Lisa, and Nikki. That shouldn't be a surprise if Nikki's sitting in the meeting with mom, right? But you do have to be also concerned about undue influence. Like, is Nikki or whoever's in the meeting, are they, trying to coerce mom into doing something that mom either may not want to do
Yeah.
or uh, wouldn't, is feeling pressured to do. And, sometimes that's hard to suss out, but other times you kind of get this idea. Mom comes in, she's older, clearly looking infirm, I guess. And, the kid's sitting there on, well, the mom tells me I have three kids. And then right in front of me, the mom says, well, I'm only leaving it to the third kid, right, who's sitting with me. And I'm like, yeah, that's, good. So you do have to be careful to make sure that, there isn't anybody trying to get in there and coerce mom or dad into whatever's going on.
Got it. Good to know. All right. What's up next for us here today? What about the spouse? Do you bring them to the initial meeting as well?
Well, I think it's good. Like if they're available, it's good because then, if
Yeah.
you guys are in there, you're going to make decisions together ultimately. So it is good to have, make sure both of them are there. But sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Somebody's, got a busy work schedule. They're not as available. So then I have done it with just one spouse, but what I'm usually doing is hopefully they have chatted a little bit, particularly if they're filling out my information sheet. And so that they're kind of already on the same page about what they want. And then it's just a matter of, maybe when they thought, oh, well, we're going to appoint Jill as personal representative. And then if they're talking to Julie and they're like, maybe this isn't something that Jill's good at. Maybe Frank's better at it or whatever. So you have this opportunity to kind of, things could change, but hopefully it's not a major sea change. It's more changes kind of around the edges, with
Good.
that.
Well, also, I want to ask, you've been doing this for how many years now? Could just a little bit of your background for those new timers out there. How many years have you been an attorney and in this, niche?
So I've been in more years. I always like to say more years in the care to count, and it's true because I've been out of law school for 35 years, and I think I've been practicing in this area about 30-ish years.
Perfect. Well, clearly lots of experience and you're guiding people the right way. Now, how does it work after you have this estate plan made? Just curious, is it on paper? Is it an email? What if you can't find it? Like, how do you make sure everyone in the family knows you have an estate plan? Where do you keep these things? And God forbid you or your attorney passes, like where does it all go? Because that would be concerning too, right?
Right. So I think that the key is, so when you do a will or a trust, that your original should only be kept one place. I keep wills for clients and clients keep them with themselves. And then what I ask is that you keep it someplace fireproof because you don't want the building to go up and the will to go with it if you can help it. And two, that your backup personal representatives know where the will is being kept. So if Jill, you say, oh, I'm going to keep my will and I'm keeping it with myself, let whoever your backup is say, hey, it's in my, safe or whatever.
Yeah.
That being said, keeping it in a safe deposit box is not the greatest place because at least in Maryland, there's no, if you're the only signer on the box after you die, it's very hard to get into the box. In fact, a lot of times the register of wills is people in the local counties who kind of marshal and run things after you die have to take field trips to the bank to get into the safe deposit box. So
Got
not
it.
the, it can be inconvenient. But then the other documents, like if you're looking at a financial power of attorney, which handles your money when you're alive, if you've lost capacity, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a good idea to keep.
Okay.
If you're keeping it, keep it at home where you keep important papers, your
Okay.
passport, your birth certificate. And again, let somebody know where that's being kept.
Got it.
Um,
In the event you
also,
can't find it, I mean, that does happen. What do you do? And if they know like you were the attorney, can they contact your firm or does it go to like some type of registry?
so I like for all my documents, if I like I have PDFs of everything now. So if
Got
you
it.
were to say, somebody calls, I need a copy of the medical directive, I need a copy of the power of attorney, I can hit, particularly if like it was your mom and Jill's, first in line, I can hit that and send that to you. And I can, PDF it all over the place, or I can print it and you can come get one. And I will say one of the things is that uh, institutions have become more user friendly, I think, with accepting copies over the years. Like the Maryland Power of Attorney Act even says in the document that a
Yeah.
copy can be used in lieu of an original. So it helps if you have copies, whether they're PDFs or hard copies.
Got it.
the will should only be one will. So you got to be
Okay.
a little bit more, uh, I don't know what the word would be, like, careful with that, I guess.
Yeah.
And,
I would
you
like
know,
make the PDF and email to everyone in my family, like just in
see, I
case.
would
So
not,
someone has it. Or is that,
yeah,
oh,
I would not recommend that for the will. And the reason is
oh,
that whatever you do in the will, it's out there for public consumption among your family. So,
true. If it's not all equal, don't send it. If it was an equal will, then yeah, let's talk about the equality factor because,
well, I was just going to say one thing about that is though it still may be a problem because even if you treat your kids equally, you may have said, Lisa's going to be first to handle everything, right? When I die,
oh,
and
and
then the
that
other
can
two are going,
cause,
well,
yep.
even if it's like I mean, I always say I don't know what happens when we die, but I do know. I don't know if we can hear people on Earth complaining or not, but I do know while we're on Earth, we can hear people complain. So why are we going to, let people complain to us? But I think there is this idea of, I think of equal but unequal treatment. And what I mean is that if say you have three kids and you say they all are they're adults and two of them, I have
Yeah.
no problem if I die, we divide it in thirds, they take their third, they can run with it. But the third kid,
I
exactly,
got one of
whatever,
those in my family, my brother. Oh, yeah.
yeah. And, if that is bad enough, mom or dad might be saying, but I cannot leave that directly to my son or
Yeah.
my daughter or whatever. And so then you can still leave them the same amount,
But
but I would suggest putting it in a trust that's created after you die and it holds the money for this child. It's their money. It can be used for their benefit, but they don't really have control over it. So if they have really something hugely serious like a drug issue, they can't use it for drugs. If they have a spending issue, or they can't get at this. That you are protecting that for your child, so you're able to benefit them and not have them lose out. And
got
the
it.
thing is, some
Mm-hmm.
people will say, "Well, I have three kids, but this third kid is such a problem. I don't want to give it to him." But Jill and her other sibling have agreed that if they'll take my estate and then they will use some of the money for third child's benefit, right? No, 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 no. Because, you're under, Jill, if you get half of your mom or dad's assets, you're under no legal obligation to share those with your brother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe you do, maybe you don't. But why are we going to take that chance? You
Got
know?
it. All right. So, any recommendations how that works? You can't tell people to split things equal or not. It's up to them, but everyone has that right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes people say I am cutting out one of my kids, and then, um, and that's certainly their right. They have the right to do that, and I'm not going to stop them. But
Yep.
honestly, to protect me in the future, I will ask them some questions about that because, look, if they die, the one that got cut out is never going to admit that they should have been cut out. They're not going to say I was the bad kid, I didn't deserve the money.
Of course.
Instead, they're going to say, why didn't I get more or whatever? So at least if I've kind of had this interview with mom or dad, I have some things to point to say, well, here was some of the thought process.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so
And
much. Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say the last thing is you should be very careful in the document to be clear that um, mom or dad was cutting somebody out, that this wasn't a mistake,
Okay.
because I don't want somebody looking in and go, well, Julie just forgot this person. We
Yeah.
want to be clear about that.
All right. Well, Julie, thank you for all the insight here. Always a pleasure speaking with you. So knowledgeable and great reminders to people out there who don't have their will set, who don't have an estate plan, time to get working. I know. Tell us
Awesome.
how we can contact you, please.
So you can reach me at my email, which is Julie, Julie,
Okay.
at jasestatelaw.com, or you can call the office at 410-286-8100.
Beautiful. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank
Great
you
to
so
talk to you
much
as
for
well.
today and looking forward to next. That's our sixth. Oh my goodness. All
I
right.
know.
You have a great day, sweetheart. We'll
You
chat
too.
then.
Thanks,
Thank
Jill.
you.
Have a good day. Take care.
This
Bye-bye.
is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect. This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.